Welcome back to Astrology, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Cailin, and on this channel I do monthly horoscope videos for all 12 zodiac signs, along with tarot predictions for your sign. Today I'm going to be doing your January 2021 horoscope, so be sure to watch for your rising, sun and moon sign. I'm going to leave a timestamp in the comment box and the description of the video, so feel free to skip this intro if you just want to head straight to your horoscope. As for the rest of you, January is absolutely hectic. We have squares from Mars, Uranus, Saturn and Jupiter going every which way. This is going to heavily activate two of your houses in particular, and of course it will change for each sign. And we also have Mercury going into retrograde at the end of the month. As per usual with Mercury retrogrades, we always have a 2-week pre-shadow period. So for the first couple of weeks in January, you'll have a bit of a breather, you could say, but this is really the calm before the storm, because come 13th of January, everything is going to go haywire, and there's going to be so much change and such a upswing or uptake in energy. And every sign of course is going to feel it differently, but the ones who will be affected the most will be Taurus, Aquarius, Leo, and Scorpio. Without further ado, let's dive straight in. Happy New Year, Libra Sun, Moon and Risings, and welcome to your January 2021 horoscope. The month starts off with Mars entering your 8th house in the sign of Taurus, where it will remain for 3 months. With Mars here, you'll be putting a lot of effort towards your mutual resources, anything to do with the occult and spirituality, and you might even be doing some deep research into an area that interests you. Now on the 8th of January, Mercury will enter the sign of Aquarius, and this will be in your 5th house. Your 5th house will become very, very busy as we go along through the month, because at the end of the month, Mercury will go retrograde there. And the pre-shadow period will begin at about mid-month, okay? So 2 weeks before Mercury goes retrograde, we get a fun pre-shadow period, which is essentially a precursor of what's to come. Now on the 9th of January, Venus will enter the sign of Capricorn, and this is in your 4th house. With Venus here, you can enjoy time at home, you can enjoy redecorating your home, or even spending a bit more time with your parents than usual. Now on the 13th of January, we will have a new moon in Capricorn, okay, so in your 4th house once again, and this will be at 23 degrees Capricorn, and it's actually in a very tight conjunction with Pluto at only 24 degrees. So that's just a 1 degree orb. Now, new moons always bring about new beginnings in some capacity, and with Pluto being involved here, this new beginning will actually be karmic in nature. And that's because Pluto is a planet which is associated with past lives, psychology, and also it can have a karmic influence as well. Now, the type of new beginning that can occur for you with this 4th house will be potentially buying a new home, moving residence, whether you're buying or selling or renting, it doesn't matter. This can simply indicate a change of your living circumstances. For some of you, you will actually inherit a property, because the 4th house represents your parents, it represents land and real estate, and Pluto is connected to the 8th house, which represents inheritances as well. So another way that this can play out is that you have a newfound sense of emotional security. And some of you can even be doing some digging into your roots, into your ancestry and your lineage. And the 8th house, Pluto is connected to excavation, digging beneath the surface, and deep research. And the fact that this is happening in your 4th house of home, ancestry, roots, and family, and we have Pluto here, which is a karmic influence, you can actually discover a long-lost hidden secret, a long-lost relative, or I suppose any kind of secret that is connected to your ancestry and to your family. Now, this can play out another way. You can actually have a fresh start with your parents, whether that's your mother, your father, or both. Pluto as a planet represents transformation, rebirth, and regeneration. And the fourth house is really also about your emotional roots and the foundations upon which your life was built, and therefore our deep-seated emotional security is represented by the fourth house, and it's also represented by the eighth house as well. So we can see Pluto regenerate and refresh your relationship with your parents, and certainly you can come to terms with anything that occurred in your childhood and get closure on that matter. Now, lastly, this can play out as a new pregnancy, and we've got Pluto, which is a planet connected to birth, and the fourth house, as well as the fifth house, and also the eighth house, is connected to pregnancy and birth. So the fourth house is about parenthood, the fifth house represents children, and Capricorn is the ruler of your fourth house and your fifth house. So Capricorn and Aquarius are both ruled by Capricorn. So having a new moon transit here can definitely bring about a pregnancy for some of you Libras. So for those of you who this could pertain to more specifically, although it can be any sun, moon, or rising, Capricorn sun, moon, or rising, I would look at if you have a Capricorn moon in particular, you're definitely a hot contender for this. Or if you have your sun, moon, or rising in Capricorn, anywhere between 20 degrees through to about 26 degrees. Now, on the 13th of January, we will also see Mars in Taurus in your 8th house, squaring Saturn in Aquarius in your 5th house. This is a tricky transit. Everyone will have this transit, of course, but for you, this is really about your romantic life and your emotional intimacy with your partner. That's one way that it can play out. So you might be having arguments with your lover over finances, or it could be arguments as a result of a lack of emotional security or a lack of intimacy. Another way that this can play out is that your responsibilities with children can cause issues or be a burden on your mutual resources. You might have if you're co-parenting and you're separated from your partner, you might have a dispute over your child and how they're raised. Even if you aren't separated, you can still have disagreements with your partner or your spouse, just in general, about how to spend your resources on your child. And for a lot of you, this can be pertaining to their schooling or their education specifically. Now, this could also manifest as your startup business that you've created, however recently, not generating the kind of revenue that you were anticipating, and therefore your partner's having to work extra hard to support you and to support your dream of having this business of your own. In the long run, it is good news for any business that you create, Libra, because we have just had the great conjunction between Jupiter and Aquarius in your 5th house in December 2020. So in the long run, your business can certainly be sustainable and eventually contribute to your mutual resources, but you might take a little while to get it off the ground, because with this great conjunction that we've had, you definitely won't be seeing results overnight. If anything, you can start to see this picking up within about a year from the Great Conjunction, okay? So December 2021, and certainly it will be fully fledged and operating from March 2023. Now, on the 14th of January, Uranus will be direct in Taurus, and just a few days later, on the 18th of January, we will see Jupiter in the 5th house squaring Uranus in the 8th house. This is another huge indicator for pregnancy, And this one is an unexpected pregnancy because Uranus brings about sudden unexpected changes that we're not planned for. Now, that's not to say that if you are planning to have a child that this can't happen to you. No, certainly we've seen that with the new moon in Capricorn being an indicator, and with Jupiter squaring Uranus, if you are planning to get pregnant, this can play out as it not happening during the time frame that you were expecting. So you might have decided to start trying at the end of the year and boom, you're pregnant like right now as you're watching this video. So for those of you who this can have a greater impact on, I'm just going to throw out a couple of birth dates for you. And this is based on your perfection year. You don't need to know the theory behind it. You can go and Google it. But if you are the following ages already before the 18th of January, 17, 19, 29, 31, 41, or 43, you certainly have a heightened chance of getting pregnant. Now, this can also pertain to adopting as well. On another level, with this square on the 18th of January, your business that you have created can start to gain a lot of traction, and even if it doesn't contribute to your mutual resources immediately, you will be deriving a lot of joy and pleasure from the efforts that you are putting into this business. Another way that this can manifest is that you have a breakthrough in your relationship and you can have a lot more fun, you can have an improvement in your intimate life, and this is really coming off the back of the Mars square Saturn transit on the 13th of January. So back then, which was, only a few days ago, you might have had a breakthrough as to what was causing the lack of intimacy in your relationship. And now you're, on the other side of that breakthrough, let's just say. Lastly, with this transit, with gambling or investments, this can result in huge wins or huge losses. With Uranus, it's always an unexpected planet, which brings unpredictable planet, which brings unexpected results. Jupiter represents abundance, Saturn represents lack. So the fact that we have Jupiter and Saturn in the 5th house, it's really hard to say which way this will swing. Of course, it would depend on your natal birth chart specifically, but my advice to you would be, with regard to gambling and big investments, don't stretch yourself thin. If you have to take out a loan to afford it, don't do it. With Saturn here, you'll be paying that off for a very long time. It's more sort of like a lucky break that can occur rather than a calculated decision which can pay off. Now, on the 20th of January, we will see Aquarius season commence once the sun enters Aquarius. So this will be in your 5th house, which means there'll be a focus on your hobbies, passions, your romantic life, your business if you own one, and if you have children, there will be a focus on them as well. The next day, on the 21st of January, Mars will be conjunct Uranus in Taurus at 6 degrees, and all of this is happening in your 8th house. So there will be huge changes to your mutual resources. This can either be money that you make from clients, as in direct proceeds if you offer client services. Your partner's financial circumstances can change dramatically. And again, this can swing one way or the other. With Uranus, we never really know how it's going to play out. Now, another way that this can manifest is that you continue to have emotional breakthroughs in your intimate life, or perhaps it's a breakthrough with a psychologist, with a therapist, or anyone in the occult industry, whether that's a tarot reader, an astrologer, you order a numerology chart or get a Reiki healing. You can certainly have huge breakthroughs and receive a healing at this time. Now, on another note, there can be some kind of shocking discovery when it comes to your partner or your business partner. So this can be a secret that they've been keeping. It can be something to do with their emotional state or their childhood. It could honestly be something really stupid as well. You know, with transits, they don't always have to indicate huge life-changing things, but with Mars in Uranus, Mars conjunct Uranus in Taurus, this will affect individuals the most who have planets at 6 degrees in fixed signs. Okay, so because this is the Libra horoscope and this is not making a hard aspect or a trinal aspect, this is more going to be affecting you if you also have Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius placements at around 2 to 10 degrees. Now, on the 23rd of January, we will see Mars in the 8th house in Taurus squaring Jupiter in Aquarius in your 5th house. This can play out as you learning about your hobbies, learning more about them, and then you start studying them and it becomes a passion. So you could be, you could have a green thumb and love gardening, and you've always done that like on the side, but now you're studying that in depth and it really becomes front and center of your attention. On another level, you can actually use this knowledge to boost your mutual resources. So maybe you already know a lot about your hobbies or your passions, and now you're able to make a little bit of money on the side. Or you could actually be benefiting from the money that you make from clients already pertaining to these issues, pertaining to these activities. Now, you could be researching ways to cultivate this passion and to turn it into a business. And lastly, I mean, there's many ways that this transit can play out. I'm just giving you a few examples, but once again, the breakthrough that you had with the Mars square Saturn transit and the Jupiter square Uranus transit can really lead to a re-energized sex life. In other words, the drought is broken. Now, I've got 2 more transits to get through. On the 29th of January, there will be a full moon in Leo at 8 degrees, which will be in your 11th house. And it's actually opposite Jupiter at 9 degrees and Saturn at 4 degrees, which are in your 5th house. So with this full moons in general always represent completion, coming full circle, or some kind of culmination. And sometimes they can also represent something to celebrate or an achievement. And the fact that this is occurring in your 11th house of long-term goals and dreams, and it's opposite 2 planets which formed their great conjunction in your 5th house, this can result in a long-term goal being actualized and drawn up. So perhaps you've been toying with what you see for your future and coming up with a few different scenarios. With this full moon in your 11th house, what you want to achieve can be illuminated, and now you can get to work with this Saturn and Jupiter conjunction. In some cases, this will be closing the door on what you had envisioned for yourself and enabling you to walk through a new door with opportunities that await you in this 5th house of joy, pleasure, creating your own business, children as well. So, you might be saying goodbye to a group or a community or a network that you're a part of to take care of a child at home. And on a totally different note, you could be ending a chapter, so to speak, with a friendship circle because you realize that it's not really in alignment with what you derive joy and pleasure from. Lastly, on the 31st of January, we will see Mercury being retrograde in Aquarius, and this is in your 5th house. I'm not going to go into it in this video. I'm going to save it for my February 2021 horoscopes. So if you'd like to see those next month, please subscribe to my channel. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I've actually released a January 2021 tarot predictions video, and that's for your zodiac sign. So you can check that out in the description box if you like. Well, Libra, enjoy your January 2021, and I will see you next month.